Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an NPC bodybuilder. Today's guest is Trey Adcock. Trey, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. So Trey, we're going to jump right into things. I got a couple of questions. I like to start each podcast off by asking all of my guests. So the first question that I have for you is, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
Oh man, so definitely I'm a mass guy. So I like the bigger dudes. I don't care about the pretty shape as much. So I like Ronnie, even though he had great shape and was huge. I love Nasser. Marcus Rule's probably my favorite all time. So Gunter, guys like that, they're probably my favorites.
Very cool. Now, who are some of the guys on the current IFBB circuit that you kind of look up to, or you admire their physiques, or you just have a lot of respect for maybe the way they train or something like that?
The one that just stepped out, Phil Heath, was probably like the guy. He was the man whenever I was growing up. So basically, he was kind of the idol that I looked up to the most, probably like growing up. But right now, I like Hunter Labrada's physique a lot. Nick Walker, just the guys that are doing it right now. They're great, all of them.
For sure. Awesome. All right, Trey, at what age did you start lifting weights? And then why did you start lifting weights at that age?
Basically, I was probably like 15, pretty young, but like nothing serious. But I started doing it for sports. I played basically every sport you can imagine.
Excellent. That's a pretty common theme in terms of most of us getting into lifting weights was because of some sort of sport. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So I kind of like to use that last question, Trey, just to kind of transition into my guest backstory. So if you don't mind, just talk a little bit about your childhood. Like, where did you grow up? What sports did you play? Did you have any, adults, coaches, teachers, parents that really had a strong influence in your life? Maybe just talk about that a little bit up to about high school, and then we'll move on from there.
Yeah, so basically, I'll say my dad was my coach all through, sports when I was young. So that can get pretty, intense. Your dad being the coach he's always going to be tougher on you. So definitely that. But I'm grateful for that. Basically, I played everything when I played football since kindergarten. I played basketball, baseball. I actually played golf in high school. That's something most people don't know. I went to the state championship my senior year in golf. So, kind of weird seeing a guy out there bigger than everybody hitting a golf ball. But that was something I loved. But I knew, with bodybuilding, that wasn't going to, transfer over. So couldn't do that. But basically, I guess how I got started, getting into like working out was, started basically in high school, getting ready for football. And then after that, just after I basically got into after high school, these guys, I started working out at the fire hall. I actually worked at the city of Glencoe. So I'm from basically Hooks Bluff, Alabama. That's where I went to school. And it's a little small town. We have one red lot. And I basically say I'm from Gadsden, Alabama, but that's, it's a small little place in Northeast Alabama. And I started working out after high school. Really didn't know what I was doing. I had a buddy that texted me and he was like, "Hey man, you want to go after work and, go work out back or whatever." And I was like, "How do you work out back?" Like I was used to, doing the main three, like deadlift, bench, and squat for football and stuff like that. So I went to this little fire hall. I worked out. A guy basically told me like, "Hey, do you compete?" And I had no idea what he was talking about. And so he told me about bodybuilding, and I was like, maybe I should, get into it and, see how I do or whatever. So I went and got a membership at a local Gold's gym. And so kind of learned the ropes from some guys there.
Love it. Now, before we get too deep into the bodybuilding talk, I want to take a step back into your childhood for a minute. Was there a specific sport, Trey, that you really were maybe naturally talented or gifted at, or that you really appreciated more than other sports? And then if so, why did you kind of have an affinity for that sport specifically?
I think football because, basically it teaches you a lot of life lessons. I always wish like our school would have had a wrestling team because I definitely would have done something like that. I just feel like the most, I guess, intense physical sports that you're going to play, they're the ones that are going to teach you the most about, who you are as a person, whether you're going to quit or, get back up and, get better. So I feel like football is probably my favorite. I don't think I was okay. I think I started getting better once I hit puberty, but I think basically I've always been a super hard worker. That's why I love bodybuilding because a lot of it is the work, and you don't really have to worry about how gifted you are. Obviously you can't help genetics and how you look, but you can really work on the work and go from there.
Right. 100%. Now you said that your dad was, your coach kind of growing up and things like that. Was there something outside of maybe the work ethic? Was there something that your dad would always say to you or encourage you in, that maybe still sticks with you to this day? Or was there just maybe his example that really set the example for you? What type of influence did your dad have on you outside of just being a coach for you?
Yeah, well, dad was, he's always been there for me 100%, no matter what. So I'm very grateful for that. My dad was pretty tough, which is, I'm thankful for that as well. It wasn't it wasn't always easy, but I remember one instance, like when I was playing football, you have C team, B team, and A team where I'm from. And so, C team was like kindergarten and first grade. And then I think B team was like second, third, or whatever. So anyway, I was supposed to be on C team this year, and something happened, and my dad brought me up to B team. And I was like a first grader going against these second and third graders. And, that's like basically when you're in middle school going up and playing the high school, you're like, holy crap, it's a different, athletic, level here. So basically, I got hit by this guy and he knocked me on my butt. And my dad, got in my face because I was tearing up, first grade. And he was like, "Hey, you can either get hit and you can stay down, or you can get up and you can go hit him right back in the mouth. It's going to basically, that's how my dad was, And that's what I did. I got right back up. I hit him and laid him on his butt, and I was like, okay, I can do this.
Love that. And such is life, right? You were all
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
take hits and you can stay down, you can get up. I absolutely love that, Trey. Now, when you were in high school and stuff, we all kind of have some sort of a dream, or we have some sort of thoughts about what we want to do when we grow up, when we get out of high school. What were you thinking about in terms of what you want to do for a career or a job once you graduated from high school? Or what direction were you thinking about going once you graduate high school? And then how did life unfold once you did end up graduating?
So definitely, there was no bodybuilding. I didn't even really think about that. My whole life was football. I wanted to, play at Alabama because that's where I'm from. That's the team, man. So Roll Tide. But yeah, that was the goal. And when you're young, you're like, yo, yeah, I can do that. But you're just young and dumb, and it's a different athletic, capability to get to that level. I mean, it's very tough, and I worked very hard. But I had a couple of small colleges that wanted me to walk on, but nothing like crazy. So I just told myself after high school I was gonna just kind of I was gonna follow. So my grandmother was a nurse, and my mom she was a nurse, but now she's a nurse practitioner. My sister was a nurse. She's now a nurse practitioner. She just graduated about a few weeks ago. So all from the University of Alabama. So that's where I thought, what I wanted to do. I had no idea. So I went to nursing school for a good semester and a half, and I was like, nah, this ain't for me. So I'm actually an occupational therapy assistant now. So I work at a little rehab hospital in Gadsden. So definitely occupational therapy is more my route, I guess, in the healthcare field. I just could not do nursing. But basically, I wanted to play football. That wasn't going to be in the books. Nursing wasn't in the books. So I kind of just took my time with school. Really, I took some time off from school because I didn't want to waste money. Where I'm from, we don't have, a crazy amount of money just laying around. So I just took time off, I think about 2 or 3 years. And after that, I just prayed about it, and occupational therapy was kind of the go. And I went there, and, that's where I'm at now.
I absolutely love that, man. Now, for some of us that maybe aren't as familiar with, like an occupational therapist or occupational therapist assistant, as opposed to kind of like, a physical therapist or something like that.
Yeah.
What's kind of the difference? What is kind of like the focus of an occupational therapist? I know there's people that work with like people with speech, and there's different types, but what's kind of the main focus of an occupational therapist, and what is your main focus within your career as an assistant?
So with our hospital, we're certified in hip fractures and strokes. So basically, and I work more so with the elderly patients, but an occupational therapy assistant can work with really from any age, from the time you're basically a newborn all the way up until, I've had patients that are 107, so it's pretty wild. But basically what happens is I work on a thing called ADLs. It's called activities of daily living. So things that you're going to do every single day that we take for granted, like taking a shower, getting dressed. I mean, you don't think about those things when you wake up. Brushing your teeth, eating, all that is what I work on. So basically, like if I've got a patient that has a stroke and has left hemiparesis, they can't move their left side as well, or they have weakness on that left side, I help give them hemi dressing techniques to get dressed independently. So basically, whatever happens to them, whether it's a hip fracture, they fall and break their hip, or they have a stroke, that's the most common thing we see. But these people are coming in and they're not as independent as they were. They may be, I guess, they may require like 50 to 75% help instead of them doing it all on their own. So we basically try to rehabilitate them and get them back to 100% independence. Of course, it doesn't always happen, but, if we can get them back to, almost 100% or, supervision, that's what we're here for.
So before we kind of transition into bodybuilding and lifting and all that for the rest of our conversation, kind of like in your profession, Trey, working with people that you're kind of trying to get back on track, so to speak, working with people with things that, again, like you said, we take for granted in day-to-day life. What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about human beings? What have you just kind of learned through all of these different experiences working with these individuals over the years?
Yeah, well, I mean, every day is a new day. So, you walk in, some days are going to be great. Some days are going to be pretty rough, depending on the patients. And the thing is, man, some patients, they really want to work and they want to get better. And usually the ones that do, they will. And the ones that just want to lay there and die, they lay there and eventually, it doesn't go as well. So that's basically, how my job goes. You hope you're not always going to get a perfect patient, and it's weird. Sometimes we've recently had a patient that wasn't very, wanting to work, willingness to participate, and you had to encourage them a lot to get them to do anything. And it's wild. They got their insurance approved for a couple more weeks, and they actually started working more, and they're doing way better now. So, it's really, I feel like if you can like really get them to see any type of progress and get them, encouraged, that they'll, eventually go on and they'll do better.
Very cool. Love that. All right. So let's kind of transition then into the bodybuilding talk. So you said a friend of yours kind of hit you up one day after you graduated high school, say, hey, let's go to the gym and train back. You're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Why don't you talk about from the time that you joined that Gold's Gym to kind of when you first competed in your first bodybuilding competition? Why don't you just kind of discuss those days, those times with you? How did you kind of learn how to quote unquote bodybuild? Talk about your first competition. Did you hire a coach? Just talk about those experiences, and then we'll kind of move on from there with your competition history and discuss a few other things.
Yeah, so basically I graduated high school in 2011. So I probably joined that gym somewhere around 11 to 2012. And basically I went in there just working out, just really, I followed a guy named Greg Plitt. I think he's actually passed away now, so rest in peace to him. But initially I wanted to be one of those guys that had the pretty physiques, and, I liked Greg Plitt and I liked Ulysses Jr. and Simeon Panda, those kind of guys. And I just saw those and I was like, let's look up some of their stuff. So I would look up a lot of Greg Plitt workouts. I think my buddy actually, me and him bought the little, I think he had an app or he had some internet thing at the time, and we bought it and just started doing these crazy workouts. And everybody at the gym noticed, they're like, oh man, these guys are, working hard. And so that was cool. And then basically, I saw a guy one day. I walked in the gym, and he was probably the biggest guy I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he was literally 260, 70 pounds, biggest chest. I mean, no lie, it was better than Arnold's probably, which is crazy. And I was like, man, I want to look like that dude. And I remember I was like probably 18 or 19. I weighed about 185 pounds, soaking wet. I walk up to this guy and I'm like, hey, I'm going to work out with you today. And he's like, okay. And we worked out together for about 2 years. And I'll say, he probably got me into it the most. I mean, he really showed me how to train. So, I remember first leg day, I was like, holy crap. And then we did a back day, and, I was like, oh man, it's just back day. I'll be okay. And I almost puked. And I was like, man, like, this is what it takes if you want to get to that next level, you have to train like this every day. So I was kind of torn between, a lot of guys, they either want to do MP or they want to do classic now. Classic wasn't even a thing then. And then, or bodybuilding. So, I basically told myself then, I was like, man, if I can keep this intensity and train like this, I can become a bodybuilder and not, MP, mainly I'm not knocking MP, but you have to basically maintain to stay there and not really, I mean, you still train hard, but it's a different level, I feel like, to get to that open bodybuilding. So, and I just basically said that's what I wanted to do. So I did it from there.
So this guy that you trained with for a couple of years, now, was he a men's physique athlete, or was he a bodybuilder, or how did he kind of know his training?
Oh, he was a bodybuilder for sure. He was way older than me. He was probably, well, I mean, I'd say about 10 years. So, I mean, he's probably 39 now. I'm 29. So I think at the time we were about 20 and 30 or 19 and 29, something like that. So he was basically, I mean, he's in his prime basically from then to now. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely bodybuilding. He had he had done some shows before, and just looking at the guy, you were like, man, he knows his stuff. And, I wanted to know my stuff too. So that's what I did.
Excellent. All right. So tell us, Trey, about the first competition that you competed in. How did that go? What was the experience like for you? And did you have this gentleman help you? Did you have somebody else help you? Did you do it on your own? What did that first competition look like?
So I had another guy help me. I hired a coach that I actually had went to this show and worked it. It was like one of the first few shows I had went to. I never went to many shows, and this guy actually won the show. And so I talked to him, and he was like the first person that was like really real with me about bodybuilding. And I respected that. I was like, man, he's a guy that'll just tell me, how it is and be blunt with it. And that's what I wanted. And so basically I hired him as a coach, and he prepped me for, it's called the Clash at the Capstone. It was in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, but they actually moved it to Orange Beach now. So, and I was almost going to do it this year just for some redemption, but they moved it to the beach, and it's like 2 hours away. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. But yeah, it was a national qualifier. Very first show I did, it was in 2016. And I probably weighed maybe 200 pounds and could have been leaner. And at 6 foot, you're not, the 200 pounds isn't very good. So, but I did that show. I got third place in my class. The overall winner was out of my class, of course. But yeah, there's no way I should have won that show.
So did you enjoy that first competition? Were you kind of hooked after that point? Or did it take you a little bit longer to warm up to actually stepping on stage and posing trunks and flexing your muscles?
Well, at first I definitely thought it was a little weird. I think everybody's like, oh man, you're like up there in a thong. So it's a little, and my dad calls them panties. So, but it's definitely weird at first. And then, once I got on stage, I felt pretty comfortable though. I enjoyed it. Then, I mean, right after that, I was good to go to, basically so I always say I don't love bodybuilding shows because I don't really go to them except maybe the Alabama State show every year, but that's because it's in my hometown. But really, I don't think I don't really track, like I track my progression with it. It's like, like in 2019, I weighed 222 pounds at weigh-ins, and this year I'm like sitting at, I actually hit a low today at 258, and I'm 5 and 7 weeks out or under that now. So it's like, that's a good tool to kind of use for your progression. You're like, okay, I'm this now on stage and I'm leaner, so there we go. But I love bodybuilding, and competing's fun, but my favorite thing about bodybuilding is just the training. I love it. Love that and the progression.
For sure. And, after having, hundreds of conversations now just through my podcast with, IFBB pros and top level coaches and NPC athletes, that's really the thing, and listening to obviously other interviews and podcasts, that's really a thing that seems to be common with a lot of champions within bodybuilding. Is it's not necessarily show day or the competition, but it's the love of the training that really is a commonality that I found through having all these conversations. So that's kind of cool that's something that you really enjoy and love, because I think at the end of the day, it's like social media has really changed bodybuilding for better or for worse. Not really here to talk about that, but bodybuilding has changed over the last 5 to 7 years, I would say. Because I'll be 35 in July, so I'm a little bit ahead of you. But growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, the bodybuilding culture and bodybuilding overall was just different.
Different.
And I know social media has changed bodybuilding, but my point that I'm trying to get at is that at the end of the day, either you're going to love the training and you're going to love the process, or you're not. And those people, again, that I've seen become champions, and maybe not just winning one competition or one overall, but the people that are winning again and again, they love the training and they love the process. And I think you see that like with Alabama football, right? Like Nick Saban's all about the process. As soon as they win a national championship, he's thinking about the next day. He's thinking about tomorrow, right? So I think any avenue in life that we choose, if we love the process, if we fall in love with the process, man, we're going to get great results. We're going to win, so to speak, whatever that might look like. Would you agree with that assessment, Trey?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, or you're not gonna do it 100%. So like I said, I love training. I think I actually had a couple of guys at the gym. They were gonna start a prep. Just random guys that are like, oh, I'm on prep, and they think it's so easy, but they're like, oh man, this is going to suck. And I'm like, no, it's not going to suck. Like if you think it's going to suck, then stop doing it. Cause like, this is the fun part, the gym is the best part about it. The dieting gets rough. You get tired. I mean, very tired. But to me, always the training is my favorite thing, because you can always bring that intensity and know that you gave it your all every day, and then it'll correlate on stage when you get up there. It'll be, if you get up there, I've told everybody since the start of this prep, if I get up on stage and I'm pushing the weight and progressing every week like I have been, and I'm hitting, the same number, matching the numbers I've been hitting with the same weight, or, getting better with them all the way through up until I step on stage, that's a win for me. Whether I win or lose on stage, I know that I gave it my all. And whenever I get up on stage, if somebody beats me, I'm going to shake their hand, because you know what? I killed myself to get there, and I know they worked their butt off, because I definitely worked mine off.
1000%. Absolutely. Okay. So your first competition was in 2016. Why don't you talk about your competition history after that first show that you did?
So honestly, there's not much. I don't really, compete a lot, especially when I know I'm not going to do well. But I did 16. I did that show. And then right after, like the week after, I did the Flex Lewis Classic in 16. And so that was pretty cool. And right after that, I took 2017 off, because I went to occupational therapy assistant school, graduated from it. And then I did a show in 18, the Clash of the Capstone again. And I thought, I really was confident that I was going to win that. I had put on about 20 pounds. I felt really good. I was as lean as I've ever been. And, of course, a bigger, better guy shows up to national qualify, and he got me. And it's okay. It's a learning lesson. Like, you put your heart and soul into something. And if it really, at the end of the day, if you lose, it tears you up inside, and you want to get better. Or like my dad said, you can either get better and get up, or you can quit. So I tried to get better, and, I feel like I have from then. But right after that, in 2019, I was going to do the Alabama State show to be Mr. Alabama, and then I was going to go and do North Americans, which I did. I did both of them. But I was real, it sucks when you do a show and you're not 100%. So I went to the Alabama State show, and we didn't peak for it or anything because we were going to peak for North Americans, of course. So we kind of just went in there, I guess, to get qualified. And I lost. Obviously, the guy in the overall, I mean, the guy that beat me went to the overall and won. I knew it was going to happen. But I really feel like if I would have been leaner, like not even a lot leaner either, probably about 6 pounds, 8 pounds maybe. I mean, I feel like I would have won that show. So stuff like that will kind of eat at you. That's why I'm not gonna. I'll never do another show like just barely like that again, because it just, it still eats at me today, because I'm like, man, I could have won that. So, I went and did that. And then I did North Americans a week later in 2019. And I came in pretty peeled, and I got second call outs, which for me, that was a win because I had never done a national show. So, and that's the only one I've ever done. So since then, I've taken 3 years off, and I'm going to be competing in 5 and 7 weeks now. So I'm going to do a show called the Greater Tennessee Valley. It's in Huntsville, Alabama, and then qualify there. And then I'm going to do USAs after that.
Excellent. Okay. So I want to get your perspective on, because you said that you haven't competed since 2019. Is there a specific reason why? Obviously, I know COVID was 2020, but has your focus just been to get bigger, to get better, or has there been some other things that prevented you from stepping on stage since 2019?
Oh no, I just wanted to get bigger and better. I got with the coach that I'm with now, Cameron Cheek. I got with him in 2019, and right after North Americans. And basically, I told him he had 3 years of my life. I was like, because I wanted to take a long off season, because I knew, at 220 pounds and 6 foot, you're not gonna do very well at bodybuilding shows. So I was like, I need to be big. I was like, I'm giving you 3 years. I'll do whatever you say. I'll eat whatever whatever. And, once we get there, hopefully we'll see some progression. And I think we have.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen some of your pictures that you posted in the last couple of months, and I'd say there's been a lot of progress. Now, that again, kind of going back to the current bodybuilding culture, I would say that's pretty unusual for somebody to take 3 years off just to grow. Now we are seeing, like Brett Wilkin, we're seeing the Hunter Labradas. We are seeing these guys that are younger and they're stepping on stage. They're turning pro. They're taking time off. They're stepping on stage again. They're winning, or they're doing very well on the pro shows because they're ready to compete. Has that really been your focus? Like, I'm going to take this time off because the next time I step on stage, I want to get that pro card. I want to have a pro ready physique. Is that kind of your mindset, Trey?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't want to get up there and even if I were to win a pro card, if you don't have a pro physique, it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, even if I win USAs, I'm probably going to take time off to get better, because I know that I need to in order to compete with those big guys. And everybody, and that's the thing about it, like social media, Instagram, we see these guys that are young and they're competing every year, but they're already there. Like, they already put on the mask, they already put the work in to get to that point, whether it be great genetics or not. They can compete every year because they don't have to put on the size that everybody else needs. So, you can't compare yourself to these pros because they're good. And you just basically, if you're a small guy, you don't have as much muscle, you need to take that time off and grow. And then once you feel you've got the physique that is, I guess, ready to compete, get back on stage and try it.
So talk about your training evolution. So kind of from that first competition in 2016 up to present day 2022, has your training evolved? Has it changed much? If so, how so? If not, how do you kind of train in the beginning to kind of this point?
Well, I was probably doing more like CrossFit stuff when I started. So definitely like some crazy intensity. And like, honestly, up until 3 years ago when I got with Cam, I had been doing a lot of volume, and everything was like minute on the minute. So like, I'd get done with a lift, rest a minute only, and then go again. And so way different now. I would say I have more of a Hunter Labrada training style, very low volume, high intensity. So more so, I might be doing like just 2 sets per exercise, but getting after it, those 2 sets, and definitely, taking like anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes rest in between.
Excellent. What's kind of been your current training split over this prep?
So it's a little weird. It's kind of like I always tell everybody it's like a 3-on-1-off, 3-on-1-off with an extra day in there. But basically, it's a pull, lower, push off day, and then I have a pull, another off day, and then lower push off day. So I just have another extra off day right between that back and lower day on the second little 3 days.
Yeah, yeah. Now, on your off days, because this kind of varies with everybody, are off days for you like completely off days? Are they active recovery days? Like, what does an actual off day from maybe going balls to the wall in the gym look like for you, Trey?
Well, let's say in the off season, it'll be an off day. Like, yeah, I will do, I'll try to relax as much as possible and do anything. But since being in prep, prep's a little different, man. Everything is always busy. So I'm always either posing or, sending updates or getting my steps in or cardio. So, I would say more or less right now, the off days are more like activity or whatever days. But usually in the off season, I try to recover for sure.
Okay. And for the recovery, whether that's off season or during prep, do you go to like the chiropractor? Do you get tissue work done? What are some of those recovery modalities or some of that recovery stuff look like for you individually?
Man, I suck at this because I just don't really, I have 2 chiropractor friends, and I go to them every once in a while, but my lower back is not the best. Like, I got an x-ray a long time ago, my L5 through L1, the curve in your spine is supposed to be like a 35-degree, or that's, what I guess the perfect example is supposed to be. Mine's at like a 4.5. So they're just stacked on top of each other, which is not great, probably from football and squatting heavy my whole life when I was younger. So, I go to him some. I've just recently started I actually am going to a massage therapist Monday. So I'm starting to do more stuff, but I need to get better. I know in the off season or even like in prep or like the start of prep, I did like ice baths and stuff like that. So stuff like that I do, and I need to stretch more, Lord knows, but I don't do that very often either.
No, I appreciate you being real with us, right? Because that's a part of it. We all, no matter who we are, what level we're at in life, there's always room to improve for sure.
Oh,
so
yeah. I think bodybuilders kind of neglect that a little.
yeah, no, you're not the first one, because I'm like, I go to the, I'm just a nobody, but like I go to the chiropractor once a week. I go get trigger point therapy done once a week, just because it makes me feel better, right? And I'm a huge proponent of all that. So, but you're definitely not the first one that is a work in progress in that, and that's super cool. So let's talk about Coach Cameron here. So 3 years ago, you reached out to him, you hired him. And first question, why did you initially reach out to him? Out of all the coaches that are out there, why did you reach out to him? And then what has he kind of done to maybe take your bodybuilding to the next level? Obviously, you haven't stepped on stage yet with him. You're going to find out in a few short weeks, but how do you feel like he's kind of maybe taking you that next level or helped you become just a better bodybuilder, a better athlete? So why did you reach out to him initially and hire him? And then how has he helped you take your bodybuilding to another level?
Well, Cam is like super young. I don't know, like he's probably gonna get mad if he sees this, but I think he's 22. But I think he's a very young guy, and I think he's up and coming. He's great. I think he's probably, for all his athletes, he's always there 100%. And he does ask a lot out of you, but in order to get better, that's what you need. We do measurements every week. We do even like the body, like calipers, we do that, updates every week, even in the off season. I never had that before. So, something like that, is pretty cool, especially in the off season, because like used to, I would just like hit my coach up and be like, hey, we're ready to prep, let's go. Kind of like that, like do my own off season where I'm eating like Moe's and Arby's, Chick-fil-A every day and not really, on a set plan. But with Cam, he keeps you regimented, he keeps you on plan. And basically I reached out to him. I had known him since he was 18. And he was super young when I had just messaged him, but we were still, we were always friends. And I actually reached out to him because I had seen some, transformations he made with these like people. I mean, they were average people. I mean, looked very average genetics, and he was taking them to national shows and like winning or getting second place with, I felt like, an average physique. And I was like, man, if he can do that, I mean, I don't know if my physique is average, but I feel, I didn't think I was like superior or anything. I was like, man, if he can do that with them, then maybe he can do something that great with me as well. And so that's basically why I started with him, and that was it. I mean, I just trusted him ever since, and I'm super, glad and appreciative that I went with him. And I told him, basically he's stuck with me now, so I'll die with him or he'll die with me, either one.
What are your thoughts then? Obviously, it sounds like you're a huge proponent of finding the right coach and sticking with that coach. We see a lot of athletes that do coach hopping. Do you feel like, and I want you to speak to the younger, subscribers, the younger viewers, listeners, because it's so hard, especially if I can't even imagine getting into bodybuilding at this stage of the game with social media, because everything's so distorted, right? So speak to the younger people or the people that are just getting into bodybuilding. Like, why is it important, Trey, to find the right coach and stick with that coach through thick or thin, right? Why is that important when you're a bodybuilding athlete?
Well, I'm super, like I said, I'm super appreciative I found Cam. I think without him, I'd still probably be spinning my wheels and not be as good as I could be, or, my potential wouldn't have lived up to what it is now. I definitely think, it's hard, like you said, with like social media and stuff, it's so hard to find a good coach because these guys will throw out these fancy words and you're like, oh man, they know what they're talking about, or they know more than me. So, maybe I should go with them, but I always would tell like the younger people, first off, I tell them, get a job first and get a career going, and don't, bank on doing anything with bodybuilding because you're not going to make any money with it. I'm a big, like, just, I think I do it as a serious hobby. I love bodybuilding. It's just, I think it's in your blood or it's not, and it's in mine. And, but I don't think that you should, put your whole life on pause for it, or ruin relationships, or, ruin careers. Like, you need to get a job going, make money before you ever, I mean, you can still bodybuild while doing it, but don't take it as serious. You need to get your life going first. And then I would say, don't go after somebody with just fancy words or the first person that reaches out to you. Do your research on some guys, and, I always say, whenever I got with Cam, I looked at his transformations and I was like, man, that's pretty nutty. Like, if he can do that with me, I think, we can do something, So I would say, look at a coach's, like, you got social media now, go on their, social media profiles and see what they've done. Look at their, accolades, look at their accomplishments, see if they've got any guys that have won shows, and not just a local show that's, one person in the class, look and see, if they've put national people on the stage and they look lean and they got, stage lean. So that, and then, find a guy, and then don't, just, the thing is, I think a lot of guys get with coaches and they like start talking to other coaches and they're like, well, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And it's like, no, just listen to your coach, do whatever he says. And if you come up short or whatever, either it's on you because you didn't work as hard, or your genetics, or, it's on your coach. So it's not, you have to basically give 100%. It's like, it's like Cam is like basically my, like, I've got a girlfriend, but Cam is basically my girlfriend too. Like, we talk every day, and it's like, we have a relationship where you need to have that in order to work. He needs to give 100%. I need to give 100%. And with Cam, I knew that he was giving 100% to everybody. I mean, the Excel spreadsheets that he like gives me, like for my meal plans and my workouts, it's like, man, this probably took 3 or 4 days to even make. Like, I couldn't even make it. I think I spent 2 hours just to make like a little template one time. And I was like, dude, there's no way. So, the time that he's putting in, you need to put that back in. So I would just say to the younger guys, give 100%, first off, you need to build a foundation first and on hard work ethic, and just going to the gym consistently and hitting a meal plan consistently. Once you've done that, then I would say, find the coach or be researching, and then get with somebody you feel you can trust, and then, that they're going to give you 100% and you're going to give them 100%. And as long as that's it, don't jump to a coach just because, he's not throwing out something fancy, or he's not throwing out a fancy exercise for you to do. Like, me and Cam just do basic stuff. It's nothing groundbreaking, so, and sometimes your diet won't change for, like 4 months, your workouts aren't going to change for 4 to 6 months, maybe a year or 2 years, so it's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it,
Wise words, man. So let's kind of talk about present day. So you said you're about 5 weeks and 7 weeks out. Is that correct, Cam?
Yeah,
Trey?
Yeah, just under that now, but yeah.
Okay. So why did you and Cam kind of decide on these two competitions like this year? Like, why USA's? Why not something later in the year? Or if you don't turn pro, do you guys kind of have your eyes on something else? Just discuss your guys' mindset in terms of these competitions.
Yeah, so basically in 2019, I already knew I wanted to do USA's. Like, I don't know why, but that was just the show. I was gonna go to Vegas. Which I'm glad it's in Vegas now, because it was in, I think, where I don't know where it was last year. It was in it was in they moved it, I think, somewhere. It wasn't in Vegas.
Was
I
it
can't
in
remember.
Atlanta or something, in Georgia, maybe, or not?
I can't remember if they moved it once to Florida, but they put it back in Nevada last year, I thought, but not in Vegas. Or I can't. Maybe it was Arizona. I can't remember. But anyway, basically, I had just had my mindset on that. So whether it was in Vegas, Arizona, Atlanta, wherever, I was going to do it this year. And basically, the Greater Tennessee Valley show, it's just like 2 weeks before, so it sets up perfect. I think the overall winner gets their USA's paid for, so that's a plus. So definitely going for that. But yeah, basically it kind of lined up where it worked out well. And then, if we don't get our card at USA's, which there's tons of guys, like, we're all friends that are doing the super heavy class, which they're awesome guys. I love them. And I mean, I know they work every bit as hard as I do. So, it's going to be a rough class. So I'm excited about it. But, if I don't win there, we'll see. I mean, if I'm close, we may, North Americans is 4 weeks after, or, we may go and try nationals, but I don't know. That's a lot of dieting. So we'll see.
So you're right. I've had quite a few of the guys that are going to be competing at this year's USA's on. It's going to be, I'm excited to, like, I mean, not just super heavyweights, but like, I mean, it's going to be stacked. There's going to be some legit guys. Whoever gets the pro cards at USA's this year, they're legit bodybuilders for sure.
For sure, I agree.
So, what Trey is kind of like, what's your ultimate, as we sit here today? Okay. What's your ultimate bodybuilding goal? Like, what do you want to accomplish before your competing days are done?
Man, just to get better. That's it. I think, after, this year, who knows what I'll be on stage, maybe 245, 250, maybe. I have no idea. Could be less, could be more. But I mean, after this year, I mean, heck, I might take another 3 years off and just try to put on another 30 pounds. The thing is, like, just to get as big and as good as I can. I don't really have a, oh, I want to go to the Olympia. Cause, like, dude, how many people go to the Olympia? Like, if I ever made it to the Olympia and got last call outs, I would be grateful. I mean, that's an insane accomplishment, I think, and it's crazy. Like, these people, they'll criticize these guys at the Olympia, and you're like, man, these guys, that most of them, I think there's like 16 of them usually. It's like, these are the best guys in the world at what they do. Like, if you come in last place, you're still amazing, So, something like, I mean, honestly, I would love to get my pro card this year. A goal of mine was to get my pro card before I was 30. So it would be nice, but if it doesn't happen, we'll keep grinding. But then, honestly, like maybe a top 10 at a pro show. And then, if we hit that, go top 5. And then obviously if we hit that, maybe win a show and just see if we can get to the O or the Arnold or something. But, that's way, way in the future, hopefully. I mean, I hope to accomplish all that, but, the main goal is just to get better.
Excellent, man. So, in terms of like this current prep, I mean, you haven't had a lot of preps to kind of compare this one to, but how have you felt overall during this prep? And then if you don't mind, like, you don't have to give us like exact macros or whatever, but like, what are some of the foods that kind of sit well with you in terms of digestion? What have been the main foods for you during this prep? If you don't, again, mind sharing that.
All right, well, we'll go with main foods. I mean, basically basic stuff: chicken, rice, zucchini. I love zucchini. So that's like my vegetable of choice. We do like fish or tilapia, rice. I mean, really, white rice is like the main foundation carb for me. And then asparagus. I do some like ground turkey, like very lean ground turkey right now. Peanut butter, all that stuff. I do a lot of cream of rice and I do the Jack Factory protein powder. So, all that, sits well with me, which I have a refeed today. So I get bacon. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, it's pretty wild. I get bacon on prep, but this prep's definitely been a little different. I will say at the start of the prep, I've felt great all the way up until about a week or two ago. And I started hitting those highs and lows where you start like feeling pretty bad. And then, I had low days almost like, I think the last 4 or 5 days. So man, those days are pretty rough where you're just like getting up, you're dizzy and like the room is spinning. You're like, man, my blood sugar is probably like 40 right now. So, it's getting rough now, but I expected it. And, I told, Cam asked me about it a couple of days ago. He's like, are you starting to feel bad? And I was like, oh yeah, definitely. And he's like, good. He's like, you haven't felt like this in 3 years. Let's embrace it. And I was like, okay.
Kind of sounds like going back to your dad as your coach as a kid, right? Just like,
yeah,
man, son, suck it up and let's keep grinding, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So cardio, what's cardio kind of been like for you guys through this prep? Where are you at right now with your cardio?
So at work, I walk a lot of steps. So man, believe it or not, I've only been doing like 10 minutes of cardio on training days. That's it. So I'll just get on a treadmill, man. Nothing fancy with me. I do a treadmill for 10 minutes. I actually did it before we got on this. I did it earlier. So I just do 10 minutes on a incline and I'll burn I just make sure I burn 200 calories right now. So that's all we've been doing I mean, I didn't even start that, I think, until about 5 or 6 weeks ago. So honestly, not a lot of cardio. So more so steps than anything, like at work and all that.
Perfect. So we're going to start wrapping up here. We're kind of coming up to 60 minutes here. Want to be respectful of your time here, Trey. A couple more things. Now going back to your career, do you feel like, especially now that you're in prep, you're kind of getting into the nitty gritty of your prep, do you feel like having that career, kind of having something outside of bodybuilding kind of gives your mind a break, or at least it kind of gives you a distraction, as opposed to some of these guys that are like quote unquote full-time bodybuilders? Do you kind of like having something outside of bodybuilding to go and do every single day, or not necessarily?
I mean, it depends. Yeah, I mean, if I'm just bodybuilder, I would love that. That doesn't always, work out. But I mean, it's nice. I think walking into work every day and, seeing different situations, it's very humbling, and you're very, I guess, appreciative of your health and, your life. So I think that can always, keep you positive. But yeah, I mean, it's good to go to work and, kind of get away from bodybuilding for a minute. But it's also, I mean, you're still like tired, and luckily, my boss is amazing. So, I'm only working, I think, 3 days this coming week and 4 the next. And then, closer to the show, we're going to be tapering it on down a little. So I'm lucky with that.
Yeah, you are lucky, man. That sounds really, really legit. Now I want to bring something up. We don't always talk about this on the podcast, but I saw something in your bio on Instagram that kind of caught my eye. it seems like faith is something that's valuable to you, that's important to you. That's something that's a huge foundation in my life as well. So kind of however you want to talk about that, just like what is faith to you? How is that kind of a huge influence, help in your life, Trey?
And I mean, honestly, it really hasn't always been. When I was younger, I just kind of did my own thing. My family, we didn't really go to church every Sunday or anything like that until I got older, honestly. And so, just you can't do everything. You think like bodybuilding is a very selfish sport, but like without Jesus, there you can't do anything. I mean, he holds your health. I mean, with any day he could take it away. So my thing is, I'm always grateful for every day. I'm grateful for him allowing me to do the things that I can do. And as long as I can do them, I'm going to do them 100% just for him. And hopefully, people can, get motivated by that or, inspired. But yeah.
Cool. All right. So last couple questions here in terms of, focusing on yourself or looking at, maybe some of the competition that you're going to be competing against, whether it's at USA's or in the future. When you're on social media, I know you're not like the biggest social media guy, but when you're on social media, how do you kind of approach other guys that you're going to be competing against, or other guys that you might be competing against in the future? Are you looking at what they're doing, or are you fully 100% focused on what Trey's doing and just getting better each day?
Oh yeah, I don't care what they're doing.
I figured that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love them, man, and they're all great guys. And you see their Instagram pics, and you're like, man, they're huge. But Instagram pics are different than stage shots. So, but yeah, they all look great, man. I've been telling everybody, I think we all have good shots, and we all have some weaker shots. But it's all going to be what the judges like, and then also we can all bring that peak in and that conditioning in. So it doesn't really matter about any Instagram pictures up until the day of the show, until you peak and you're on stage. That's the only day that matters. So, but yeah, the guys are great, man. And like my coach is like, he'll be like, oh, there's this one guy's name's Cole Eastwold. You probably know him. But he's doing USA's, and he'll always be like, oh, I bet Cole, he ain't like, whatever. Like if I know, I think it was one day my girlfriend, we were at the gym, and I didn't hit a rep or something, like I missed it by one. And she's like, oh, I bet Cole hit that rep. And I was like, dang, I was like, everybody's on my case right now. So, but Cole's awesome, man. He's a good dude. We chat every like once in a while on Instagram. But yeah, I'm not focused on what they're doing. Everybody, there's way more ways to skin a cat. So those guys are doing their own thing, and I'm doing my own thing, and we're all gonna bring it to stage and see who wins.
For sure. Are you referring to Cole Eastwold?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been a guest on the podcast, and I'm actually in Iowa, and then he's in Minnesota, which is just obviously a state up. So yeah, he's a really, really cool dude. Really, really awesome. So
our class, there's just a lot of like hardworking dudes, and I mean, he's a good dude.
Right, for sure. And like I said earlier, man, it's like whoever turns pro, whoever gets in that first call out at this year's USA's and all of these divisions, or most of these divisions, super heavyweight, light heavyweight, like you guys are all, if you guys don't get your pro cards at this competition, like it's just a matter of time, right? And if you do turn pro at USA's this year, like you've got to be, whoever it is, like you've got to be proud, because it's legit, So if I were in your guys' shoes, like I'd be excited, because it's like, hey, like I'm going to get a pro level, pro caliber competition at this year's USA's, which it hasn't always been over the last several years, right?
Yeah, I don't think, you don't want to go into any show and there'd be like one person in your class, or just, show up and like there's like one guy that's good, and if you beat him, you feel accomplished. Like, man, everybody at this show, like there's like 8 or 9 guys I know that are going to be solid. And it's like, my goal is to get in that top call out, but obviously I'm coming for everybody's throat. But I want to, if I can get that top call out, I'll be pretty pleased.
For sure, man. For sure. All right. Last question, Trey, and then I'll kind of give you the floor to kind of share any final thoughts, any final words, any shout outs that you have on bodybuilding as a whole. What do you feel like is the biggest like life lesson that you've gained through your bodybuilding experience up to this point?
Man, I think if you are consistent you adhere to a plan, and you set a goal that you can accomplish anything you want, in short.
Excellent, man. Love it. Okay. So Trey, first of all, thank you so much, my man, for taking some time out of your schedule just to chop it up with me, share a little bit about yourself and your story, your bodybuilding experiences. I appreciate that, man. Before I do the outro here and we wrap up this conversation, if you have any final thoughts, any final words, any shout outs, any sponsors, anything that you kind of want to leave with us, go ahead. Make sure you also give us your Instagram, and then I'll do the outro, and that'll be a wrap.
All right. Well, the Instagram is TreySup44. And then, sponsor Jack Factory. They treat me amazing. I'm affiliates with Iron Rebel and Calm Peak. So, they've been great to me as well. I definitely want to thank my parents, for raising me. Mom and dad, love y'all. My sister, her husband, and my little nephew, Ryan, love all them. I want to thank my girlfriend. She's basically done everything for me in prep. So, without her, I would still get it done, but it would suck a lot more. So I appreciate her more than she knows. I'm probably missing, somebody, but I appreciate, thank God every day for him allowing me to do this. And, I think that's about all I got.
Coach Cam, shout out to him, right?
God, yes. Oh man, he would definitely get me for that. Yeah, I gotta thank Cam for sure. Cam is literally my best friend. Love the dude to death, and I mean we talk every day. Like I said, he's basically my second girlfriend. So
excellent, man. All right, Trey, I appreciate it. All of you who are tuning in to another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast. I just want to say thank you so much to you. If it wasn't for all of you, the podcast wouldn't exist. I appreciate everybody that subscribed to BTM on YouTube. I appreciate all of you who are listening just on a consistent basis. Thank you for everyone that leaves comments on YouTube. I love getting the feedback on YouTube. As we close up this conversation with Trey today, just a couple quick things. If you haven't hit that subscribe button on YouTube, please make sure you do that. That's really important because I release all these Behind the Muscle podcast episodes first on YouTube, and then I will distribute them to iTunes and the other podcast platforms. So if you're not a subscriber on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, quickly here, make sure you share this episode on Instagram. Make sure you tag Trey, tag Behind the Muscle, so that we know that you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it, in which I know you did. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.